Today I'm talking to Sagarika from the United Arab Emirates. Hi, Sagarika.
Hi.
Hello. You're doing cleanups in deserts and on beaches since you were my age. You created Kids for a Better World as a project for a coding class when you were 11, which has united kids around the world. You've been called an inspiration to all young girls by the United Nations. You are amazing.
Thank you. That's so nice of you.
Can you tell us a bit more about what you were working on right now?
Yes, sure. So right now I'm in grade 11 and I've just started working on my A-level exams. So they're sort of like a public exam that we do as a part of the British system since I do go to a British school. And I'm trying to balance a lot of my schoolwork with a lot of my environmental work out of school. So right now I'm also the head of eco committee at my school. So that's pretty exciting. And I just got elected for that last week. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm also on the board of the Children's Advisory Team for the General Comment 26. So that's essentially just the youth providing their input on different environmental issues. And they basically just talk about how you can get through to people of a younger generation and things like that, about how to spread a message as a part of the United Nations. So it's sort of like a youth's perspective. And that's pretty exciting. So I'm enjoying that.
Good job. Is that the COP in Egypt?
So not exactly. So I'm still a part of, I'm just working on it. So I'm just like a part of the children's advisory team. But they haven't like spoken to us yet about that aspect.
Oh, okay. Cool. The United Arab Emirates is a stunningly beautiful country. I read that some of the desert scenes in Star Wars were filmed there. Summer temperatures reached 51.8 degrees Celsius last summer. Has climate change affected you at all?
Definitely, it definitely has. I've lived in Dubai my whole life, so almost 17 years now. And over time, I have definitely felt like, obviously, like you just said, summer temperatures have been increasing a lot. And it has meant that in school and things like that, I haven't been allowed to go outside for like different activities during like summer, because summer temperatures are so high that it's unhealthy. So schools aren't allowed to send their students outside to do sports and things like that. It also does mean that we do rely on air conditioning and things like that inside. So I do spend a lot of my day inside. I don't go outside that much, as much as I'd like to go outside, because it does tend to get hot very, very quickly. So if I do go outside, it's usually only for like 15 to 20 minutes at a time. So yeah, it definitely has affected me. And I have a little puppy myself. So I was talking about this earlier. I have a dog called Simba, and he can't go for long walks. And especially in the temperature, it gets super, super hot. So we have to be careful where we take him and things like that. So yeah.
Petroleum is the chief economic resource of the United Arab Emirates, which is hard during a climate emergency. Are you doing anything to help your country decarbonize faster?
Obviously, as being a member of the youth, it can be a very complicated task to, make mass change with, decarbonization and things like that, because this is such a massive and large scale issue. But I have focused a lot on educating and advocating towards reducing your carbon footprint and things like that. Because even though it isn't a lot, I tend to believe that each action can collectively contribute to large scale change. So what I try to do is I like to tell people to maybe, switch from driving to short distances to maybe walking or biking and things like that, because you get to enjoy the community and you get to enjoy the nature and things like that, and it does help to reduce your carbon footprint. I am a big foodie, so I have understood that I like to take out and like order in a lot. And recently I've understood that that has a very large impact on my carbon footprint. So I have tried to limit that as much as possible. And I like to cook at home and things like that. Obviously, like having your own kitchen garden at home and growing your own fruits and vegetables, that does tend to contribute to reduce your carbon footprint, because you're not going to the supermarket to buy fruits and vegetables, and you're not importing produce and things like that. um, So I feel like there isn't that much on a large scale that you can do. But I like to do what I can and like to tell people as much as I can so they can go and create their own change.
Yeah. It's like there's not large things you can do. It's just millions of so many small things you can do to make it better.
Exactly. That's exactly what I always say as well, because a million, small actions contribute to one large one.
Yeah. Can you tell us about Kids for a Better World?
Yes, sure. So, like you said earlier, I set up Kids for a Better World when I was 11 years old, back in 2017, and I had just completed a course on HTML web design and coding for a summer program. And my final project for that had to be a final full functioning website. And I decided to base it around the topic of the environment and like animal conservation. And then, it was all very natural. At the same time in school, I was learning a lot about plastic pollution and how, like, whales were washing up on beaches with plastic in their bellies, and turtles were choking on plastic straws and things like that. And that was a very impactful time for me, if you know what I mean. So it really did affect me a lot, just thinking that I have to deal with these problems. And even though I am a part of the youth, so I wasn't the reason that all these problems exist, but I do have to contribute to, limiting the impact and doing what I can to reduce the effect it has on our community and our future generations. So just after my project finished, I decided to continue my website, and I named it Kids for a Better World, which essentially just means that kids come together to have a positive impact on the world and our community and the future generations and things like that. And yeah, so we just focus a lot on environmental conservation. It started in my own community in Dubai. And then obviously the beauty of having an international platform and a website is that people can access it from anywhere in the world. So we got people from New Zealand contacting me, people from India and Oman and the UK and things like that. And then it just started to spread worldwide. So yeah, that was essentially it.
Cool. What sort of thing would you like to tell other kids about the United Arab Emirates?
The United Arab Emirates is a very new and developing place. So it's only been around for the past 50 years, I think 50, 51 years. So you can constantly see progress being made here. And we constantly hear the youth does have a very strong voice. And we do have the opportunity and the privilege to, make our opinion said and like our voice is heard. So it's been very easy for me to, make my mark on society and tell people what I'm really thinking. And we sort of have a youth community here, where we can all just rely on each other to spread a message and get through to people and get through to the elders and things like that. So I'm very grateful for that. And I think there's not much else you can say about the UAE other than the fact that it does put a very high focus on sustainability and environmental conservation. So recently we had the Expo 2020 summit. So I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it happened here in Dubai, and it happened very near to my house. And they had a whole pavilion dedicated to sustainability. So it was all about educating and teaching the visitors about sustainable production and food production and things like that, and about what you can do here in the UAE and what the UAE is doing towards living a more sustainable life and having a sustainable future. So yeah.
Cool. What do you think kids around the world should do to help fight climate change?
Like I said earlier, it can be very hard and overwhelming to be a child and think that you are solely responsible to fight climate change. And I remember when I started doing all my environmental work, I found that very hard to, wrap my head around that there's so much going on. Like, what could I do? But essentially, it could just be very small actions, switching from single-use plastic bottles to reusable items, switching away from single-use plastic straws to things that are better for the environment. Maybe, having your own kitchen garden. I really enjoyed gardening, and that's sort of like therapy for me, where like if I'm stressed, I'll just go out and plant something and things like that. And we have our own avocados and tomatoes and things like that in my backyard. And that does have a very strong impact on reducing your carbon footprint, because like I said earlier, you're limiting the amount you're going to the supermarket, and you're not relying on supermarkets as much. um, and yeah, I think the biggest thing you can do is teach and educate your community. Go to school, tell people, instead of using single-use plastic bags, use reusable ones. Tell your teachers, tell your friends, things like that. It's all about spreading a message and being your own individual change maker, so that it can almost be like a ripple effect where you're telling people and your friends are telling people and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. What is your favorite food?
My favorite food would be either pizza. I'm a big fan of pizza, and I love pineapples and corn on it. And my friends bully me about this all the time, but I'm obsessed with pineapples on my pizza. I also love sushi. I am a very big fan of sushi and maki and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Those are probably some of my favorite foods as well.
Yeah, it's a very popular choice, I've heard.
It is. What is your favorite thing to do for fun?
Um, wow, that's a hard one. I think personally for me, like maybe like watching a movie. I always love, watching a good TV show, watching a good movie. That's always like stress relieving for me. I love going for like bike rides in my community. So I live in a gated community, and there are always like trees and things like that around me. So, going for a nice bike ride, taking my dog out for a walk. I love doing things like that.
Yeah. Probably when I'm probably stressed, I like to just try to cook something, or I love cooking.
I love cooking as well. That's a good one.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm not entirely sure yet. So I want to do behavioral economics when I'm older. So that's basically like studying consumer decisions and like thinking why someone would want to buy something, and marketing and things like that. So I'm very interested in that. But at the same time, I love acting. So like acting is something that I do like at school and things like that. I love acting. So like drama and things like that. So I definitely want to do something related to that as well. What about you? Do you have any idea?
No, not yet.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I was your age as well. I had no clue.
What is the best thing about your country?
Wow. The best thing about my country is that it's it's full of so many different people from so many different places and so many different countries and things like that. And living in Dubai my whole life has allowed me to meet an insane amount of people from different countries. And if I think about it, like my best friend's Polish. I have friends from almost everywhere across the globe. It's crazy to think about. But living in Dubai is just such an incredible place to meet people. And um, just to see that everybody's so interconnected and things like that. I'm very grateful to just think that, maybe my neighbor could be from Egypt. And at school, I go to international schools. I'm very grateful to know that I could rely on anybody from different countries, and I've learned so much about my community.
As a thank you for joining us today, we'd like to make a donation on your behalf to your favorite environmental charity in the United Arab Emirates for $25 Canadian. What charity would you like us to make a donation in your name to?
So I'd like you guys to donate to a marine conservation charity here in the United Arab Emirates called Azraq. And that's essentially, Azraq means blue in Arabic. So it focuses a lot on marine protection and conservation, and essentially helping the local marine species in the Middle East. And I was a youth ambassador for them for a while. So I'm very passionate about that. So yeah.
Cool. What does that charity do?
So they focus a lot on the protection and conservation of marine wildlife and things like that. So essentially all about what you can do to limit your impact on the marine environment. So I focus a lot on land and things like that in the environment on land as part of Kids for a Better World. And Azraq is sort of like my counterpart that focuses a lot on the oceans and the waters surrounding the Middle East.
Cool. Thank you for joining us today. Click the link below to donate to Azraq, and remember, together kids can save the world. Please like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.